So my proposal of a special needs hub to be developed in the Selwyn district of New Zealand, because Selwyn is the largest growing region in the country currently, is a conversation that needs to be had widely by not only parent communities, but also school communities across the country. Now, recently, in schoolnews.co.nz, there was a publication regarding, in fact, the lack of support for students with learning needs, especially those with neurodiversity. And to quote the article, it said, many neurodivergent people without adequate support and or diagnosis and understanding find themselves facing increased mental health challenges. More than 90% report facing social and emotional challenges because of their neurodivergence, with 35% reporting their challenges as severe. New Zealand research shows that by the age of 8, neurodiverse students have a lower quality of life and satisfaction than neurotypical people and are already displaying anxiety and depression. Evidence has shown so far that effects of the Ministry of Education's Learning Support Action Plan have been minimal, and neurodivergent students are still disproportionately impacted by a one-size-fits-all education system. In recent years, advocates have called for several changes to the education system to allow neurodivergent students to thrive. These include increased funding, better access to specialists through a centrally coordinated system, improved in-class support, and upskilling teachers. But while these larger policy changes form the backdrop of the wider education experience for neurodivergent students, many teachers and students don't have the luxury of waiting for additional resources to come down the pipeline. There are classroom and school-level adaptations that can help meet some of the needs of neurodivergent ākonga or students. Many of them are already being implemented by classroom teachers. However, in reading this, I congratulate the author for actually highlighting these things. But for myself, I think, part of the conversation we need to have is the fact that the funding itself right now is so poor in meeting the needs of students. But also, even if you funded a teacher aide for every single neurodiverse student or student with learning disabilities in the country, it actually practically doesn't meet their needs, because a teacher aide cannot change the classroom environment. A teacher aide cannot stop a student from seeing the world through a neurodiverse lens. A teacher aide cannot stop their sensory overload. And the thing is that these teacher aides often have other jobs to do, and they're not ever funded to work solely with the student in so many cases. So pretty much these kids are there and their needs are met for a small proportion of the time, and the rest of the day their needs aren't met. So that's why I'm saying that we really need to put the students first, and we need to see what is going to be most pragmatic and most practical in meeting their needs. So they actually need a different environment to learn in. That's the crux of the issue. A lot of these kids need a different environment to learn in, and the mainstream classroom environment, the actual aesthetics of it, the sound design, the structure of the room, and the 25 to 28 other students in the room, challenge kids like mine so much. And a teacher aide being placed there to help out is not going to change that. So it is really very much the fish out of water analogy that we need to focus on. So that's why I'm saying, and I know many people will agree with me out there, but maybe don't want to put their head, above the pulpit right now, that you actually need a different building and I would encourage for those to be built on the mainstream school campuses so they can be included in wider school activities like sports day, assemblies and drama, and obviously playground play. But there needs to be a separate building or hub on these mainstream campuses that can adequately, effectively deal with the needs of especially very high-level sensory-seeking students like mine, neurodivergent students who really need a quiet space to learn in. Come on, that's like, why haven't people thought of that? You know, wouldn't that be the first thing educators think about? Or the Ministry of Education? Kids like this, especially with learning challenges and very high-level learning needs, need a really quiet space to learn in, and they need way more one-on-one than they're getting. And you can only achieve that with a special needs hub like I'm proposing. A separate building, a separately specially designed facility on the mainstream campus for these kids. I can't believe this isn't being done already, and I can't believe I'm the person who's, you know, putting my hand up and saying, hello, the Emperor's got no clothes. Does anyone notice? Like, who hasn't thought of this? Why has no one been talking about this that I'm aware of? And we can have all these lovely articles written in education gazettes and magazines and all this, but they still go back to, oh, we just need more funding, it'll solve anything. No, you actually need a whole different paradigm when you're dealing with this issue. And cost is going to come into it. And so it's, I think, and people can do the maths on this, but I think it'll be more cost effective to actually just build separate hubs, staff it separately, so there's full-time staff just for those students who are adequately trained, the design of the building's adequate, all the resources within that building are adequate. And we just need to look overseas to Australia. A school like St. Lucy's in Wahroonga in Sydney, just go online and have a look. St. Lucy's, Wahroonga, Sydney, and see how they effectively teach and enable the learning of learners there for, you know, disabled students or students with disabilities and sensory needs. Look what an amazing job they're doing. Why aren't our kids afforded such an amazing education and facilitation of learning? And so that's all I'm proposing, a much better way forward for kids with special needs and disabilities and high-level learning needs in New Zealand. And I just want more people to start putting their hands up. You know, I've had people behind the scenes saying, great, it's so wonderful what you're doing, thank you for speaking up, all this sort of thing. But look, I'm just one person. I'm just one person with my own, you know, thoughts on this matter. I really need other parents, teachers, and people working within the disability scene to say, yeah, we agree. Let's do this. Let's go forward. Because me just writing to politicians, me just trying to get out there and spread the word and get the conversation going isn't going to affect change unless everybody jumps on board and says, we support this idea of a special needs hub. Thank you.